Good morning. Well, this Monday, I'm going to talk about a situation that has developed in India, but it can be universal. We saw a frenzy in the north part of India where hundreds and thousands people assembled, and the assembly was not for any purpose except to protest against the arrest and possible conviction that happened today of one of the so-called godmen. 38 people lost their lives, hundreds injured, millions of dollars of property lost. Why? I watch in horror as I see the ordinary Indians go through another bout of self-afflicted pain caused by the propensity of their own. They have lost the right to think, to reason, to have logical discussions. But they follow the leader blindly. This leader can be anybody. It can be described in hundreds of words in Indian dialects like Neta, Taliwar, Guru, Baba, Ma, Mata, Pastor, Maulvi, Sadhu, Sadhvi, and so on. We need 2 feet. In India, we need 2 feet to touch and bow down. We want 2 hands which can rest on our heads, soothe our lacerated souls. Let us leave all the worry and chant hymns in the glory of the grand head above. Be it a Baba, be it a Guru, be it a religious leader. We should recognize this as a global concern for world citizens decades back when he said that the men and women never grow and the child inside never dies. In childhood, you look up to your father, and in adulthood, this father is transformed the shape of a pastor or a godman, as the Indians described it. And India, the leader, whether it's a godman or a neta or a baba or a grandma, is inherently because the godmen in India occupy a sacred pedestal. Unfortunately, the old belief in superstitions, sacred practices and rituals, lack of education, and fear instilled in our minds by the elders make these puny people, these people who are nothing better than charlatans, appear like gods, and we believe in their miraculous powers to set everything right that endangers our chosen cocoons and ghettos. Gurmeet Ram Rahim Singh is not the first godman in India to get away with rape. He has been punished for 10 years, and you can be sure in a couple of years he might be again back. And there are still millions of the people who are rooting for him, who can do anything for him, even commit murder. There are many godmen who are equally pathetic and even more pathetic than he is. But these are the motley few who have been caught. One was earlier caught. Why is it that these godmen roam around and will continue to roam around free in every nook and corner of India? You can be sure this idiot, or rather this conman called Baba, called godman, is not going to be the last one as far as Indians are concerned. I do not despair for the depravity of these Babas. What I'm putting blame is on us, the depths that we have sunk into, and how further they would think, how long we will continue to be illogical. And they are not the roots, but they're the fruits of the society. They are there because the Indians believe in them. They are there not, Indians don't believe in them because they are good. They believe in them because they've been taught that they should be good. These godmen play on the fears of the people and fears of any time. They're the cause and reason for your existence. You and your fears make them powerful and transfer your power of reasoning and logic to them. I look at the photographs of Ram Rahim with the leaders, including the chief ministers, the community leaders, film stars, religious leaders, and the sight of the public falling on their feet and pointing at him. And this is how we Indians, in particular, and the uneducated people in general, make a megalomaniac out of an impostor. But this is not only about the uneducated leader. I fell sick, and my sister-in-law brought me a bottle of water from one of the temples, gurdwaras, and wanted me to drink it so that it will be amrit, charnamrit. That means water touched with the feet of the millions of the people. Dirty, might be. Full of germs, must be. And I was disgusted, and I told my sister-in-law to get the hell out of my sight. I remember that I had gone to address a pan-IIT event in Mumbai. And IIT is supposed to consist of the highly intelligent people, the cream of the nation, and the business leaders of the various corporate and central bodies. In the evening session, they had one of the Babas who was there. Luckily, he was not there in the morning session when I was speaking. And he wanted to use the power of meditation and religious hymns. Meditation is okay, but the hymns to purify and uplift the sinful being. Within minutes, you would see a gathering of the thousands of intelligent people closer, started chanting the hymn. And all of them had a feeling that they had a height of sexual orgasm. That orgasm that they experienced was because of their illogical thinking. And I was smiling all the time and thinking, ruminating, that if the cream of the scientific thought can bow down to this man, then why blame the poor, uneducated people? You know, there's a close connection between the leaders, the religious leaders, and the gundas. As a matter of fact, in local vernacular, I would say that the Babagiri descends into Dadagiri. The godliness becomes rascalism, nothing else. And whenever I see, we look at every charlatan as a messiah, as a god, as a savior. And unfortunately, the bhagats, the followers of that godman, abuse every single command and ensure that logic is set aside by hatred and fear-mongering. They ensure that of silence and total surrender becomes music to the ears of these people. No, my friend, it's not Ram Rahim or Asaram who can do anything and just get away with it. It is you who have allowed them to become what they are. I don't blame them. They are criminals, they'll be dealt. But what about you who are abetting this crime? Indians by following these charlatans or abetting that crimes. Imagine a criminal is going to a court of law and millions, 500,000 people assemble there, weeping, crying, and then indulging in violence. And look at the stupidity of the government. These charlatans are provided with Z plus security, the highest security equal to the President of India. And this criminal travels with a police escort, with 200 my ground politicians and against the people. Shall I say co-what is India? And then it's possible that this man will become a chapter in history. But I don't think it's very early to think of that. He would be back, I can tell you. And he would be back with vengeance. You see, because these gods are like unicorns, they rise from their ashes. If he doesn't come, then his adopted daughter is there to take up the place. And in this land of Bharat, the land of the followers of the blind faith, the land of the people who are mentally blind and cannot think, nothing can be there. I'm amazed. Where are Dyanand and Vivekananda and Krishna to set things right? And you love Baba Giri, the godliness? I'm surprised. One thing again which surprises me is that most of these Babas, not all, but most of them, the majority of them, are from Punjab. And what has happened is that the Green Revolution and that made people very rich. And now the drugs dominate the scene. And Dalits are still struggling to live. Now, this is a curious social condition. And in this condition, these Babas are born. You remember that dancing Ma who took Bombay by storm and is worshipped, and she's nothing more than a woman who can show her willy feminine charms. And then there's another case. In Punjab, there is a person, Asutosh. He's been dead since 2014, but his followers would not allow the body to be buried because they think that he is in meditation. What about the reformist institutions like Arya Samaj and Singh Sabha? What about SGPC? These social organizations have failed miserably. And I'm amazed where the formal institutions are not been successful, the informal gods take their place. Why? This is primarily because I again put the whole blame on the people. These people create a situation where the afflicted get a sense of belonging. And then they are brainwashed to the extent that they cannot think anything. That their sense of logic is frozen. That their intellectual capacities are not only blunted but are clubbed to death. And then at the call of their master, these bondsmen, these slaves are willing to commit any deed, as I said, even murder. Imagine in a country which says that it's going to be a superpower. These charlatans, these conmen, these rascals, these rapists and murderers are worshipped not by hundreds, not by thousands, but by millions. And the political leaders, I have seen even the prime minister going and bowing to them. There was one Rasputin in Indra's time, Dharendra Brahmachari. And then, the tribe started growing. There are at least 200 such godmen who are fleecing the people, who are raping young girls, who are indulging in sodomy, who are indulging in murder. And yet they are worshipped. What an irony. When would Indians grow up? When would Indians start thinking that these godmen are not to be venerated and worshipped, they are to be whipped? As long as a single mother is a worshipper of these morons, but I am mistaken, they are not morons, they are highly capable people. Well, these dastardly people, there is no hope. And these, to use the typical Indian phrase, Dadagiri, Babagiri, Gundagiri, Netagiri. That means the so-called godly men, the so-called gundas, the so-called politicians, they are all of the same clan. They need to be kicked up in their asses and thrown on the dunghill. But the millions are worshipping them. And the pathetic cries that despite their exposure, that despite the facts being really known, these people will continue to be worshipped, adored in the hearts of the millions, whose own daughters may have been ravished by them, whose own wives may have been ravished by them. But then they are the godmen. And being godmen, they are above blame. I pity India, the resurgent India. Where is it heading to? If Ram Rahims and Asarams are to be the role models, you can only shake and tremble in fear for the coming generations. Think about it. Don't be apathetic any longer. Rise. Thank you.